From the ring to the screen, luchador in the fight, mask on, no fear, diving into anime tonight. Quintuplets, drama, rambles, down to then chaos high, action, fantasy, from the zero, we're watching them all. One episode hits, I'm hooked for the ride. Peak or mid, trash or fire, let's decide. El Cachorro, roses, anime. Punching, trolls, dropping facts, no mercy in the game. Tier white, good set, tier filler, straight flame. El Cachorro, roses, anime. Always, arigato.
Welcome in, Cachorrites. We are back for more El Cachorro versus anime. And it is finally the end of our Quintessential Quintuplets review. It's ironic in a way that this has taken 5 videos. Did not intentionally do that. But so our 5th and final, God, at least for now, coverage of this anime. Yeah, like I said, I just wanted, I had a lot to say, so it's just going on and on. So we have covered the mainline story in the other 4 videos, so feel free to watch those if you haven't, if that's what you want to hear. So today we are going to cover the 2 specials. Now, one of the specials takes place after the ending of the show, so that's obviously you can watch that at the end. This special is a bunch of skipped chapters. I don't know. Don't know if I want to call it lost episodes, but it's stories that got skipped from the manga that didn't get put in the anime. So you don't need to watch it before the movie. I think it helps if you do. I think it helps make the movie a more fuller experience, because the movie did kind of come up with a result that kind of threw a curveball at you, and it didn't feel like it earned the ending, where I think this special gives a lot of necessary insight and helps make one of the other girls a massive player. I'm not try not to get into the too heaviest spoilers in case people are watching this without watching the movie review. I will be going into spoilers, so I will try and make sure I mention something before I get into something that starts spoiling the movie. But I do, if you can get your hands, I mean, it's not dubbed and it's never been technically released in America, so you have to find it through nefarious ways to watch both of these specials, because they've never been released in America. So you got to go to some dark places on the internet, or but. Quick recap. Okay, you're new here. Our main character is Yosagi Futuro. He is a really smart, one of the top kids in his class, but his family doesn't have much money. He took a job tutoring these 5 twin sisters to help take care of his family. First season really dealt with most of them him finally getting them all on board and working together. And slowly we had love interest form till it all culminated into the movie where we know it teases at the very beginning of the very first episode that he marries one of them. So we find out who she is at the end of the movie. My personal favorite, obviously, has always been Miku, the quiet, reserved, shy girl who we see starts crushing on him. She crushes on him early, and she leads up to a big season 2 reveal of her love. And the oldest sister is Ichika, who is also one of the first ones to start developing crush on the main character in season 1, and her and Miku are pretty much mostly competing against each other for most of it. And then Ichika kind of does some stuff that, makes you not like her very much. Our Cassandra, who just won her, I just saw this, I don't know what person gave it to her, but she has been named the Cassandra of the Year for 5 years in a row now. So good for you. Oh, no, sorry, that's I got the wrong chick. That's Itsuki. I'm sorry, we haven't got the. Where's Nino? There's Nino. Sorry, Nino just won her Cassandra of the Year for the 5th year in a row. So good for her. She's the overprotective mother of her family and wants to keep everyone together. She starts off as a villain character who really hates our main character and tries to keep driving away. And she slowly comes to accept him and make changes. And then she becomes the runaway train of love who is dead, cut her head, but she falls for him, and she's dead set on doing whatever she can to get his love. Now we're going to talk about Itsuki, the youngest of the sisters, who acts. She is the one heaviest hit by the loss of their mother, and while the other one kind of is the overprotective one that wants to keep the family together, she's the one that actually kind of tries to act like the mother of the group. She butts head with Futuro for most of the first season before she comes to accept him as her tutor. And then she's kind of got this weird up and down thing. She does. You're almost. We're going to talk about this more as the special goes on with her character. Is if there's supposed to be a romance interest or not there. But and then our last sister is Yotsuba. She's the eager to please, athletic, sporty. Usually, played off as the least bright, least immature of her sisters. She acts the most kiddish, but she's also, like I said, she'll do anything for anyone. She's always willing to help someone. So that's her quick little intro, which probably wasn't too quick. So let's get into the nitty gritty of the specials. So now we're going to, at least these will be spoilers for the first 2 seasons that we're going to cover. So we start off they're in the library, and they're pretty much they're saying they're unpacked to graduate. Everyone's doing well, and he's pretty much telling them that he's taken a vacation for the summer, which is telling us pretty much what we're really getting here is it's setting us where we are in the timeline. So this is right after season 2 and before the movie, because season 2 ended with the field trip in Kyoto, which is where there was the big showdown between the sisters battling. Then Miku finally kind of had her moment where she confessed, but then took it back by saying it wasn't. She's like, I love you. Then she says, I'm talking about my family behind you. Well, did you think I was talking about you? And she made the comment about she didn't want to burrow in where she didn't think she had a chance, which was very disheartening because you've been waiting. As a fans, we were waiting for the entire show for her to have that moment, and then they kind of just downplayed it. So that's pretty much what had just happened. So he's taking a winter break. We also get a hanging Chad that they kind of left open from what was going on at the end of season 2, and then kind of just disappeared in the movie. So while they were on the trip, there were people taking pictures of the girls. We found out at the end it was he put his friends up to do it. They just really did it really badly where they were scaring the girls, and it was and we found out he was making a photo album of the girl, taking pictures of the girls and make a photo album to give them for their birthday. So the movie kind of just glossed over that, forgot any of that ever happened. So it does show he gives them the photo album as their gifts. So he said he couldn't afford to get them all 5 something, so he made this for them. And a couple of girls were like, you didn't have to be creepy about the photos, but a lot of them were super touched about it. So like I said, he's pretty much accepted it. I'm not gonna tutor you over the summer. I'm taking a break. Of course, most of the girls are disappointed and they're gonna miss him. Ninu, who works with him, is planning. She's like, well, I get the advantage because I get to see him when we work together. And some of the girls joke about going to the beach and possibly seeing him in swimsuits. And we see Itsuki's kind of paranoid about them hanging. She's kind of wanting them to take a break. So she's kind of wanting to kind of keep him away. So then we get to our first story. And it starts off with Rhea, his sister, grilling him because she found a book under his bed. Now, they're kind of teasing it might be a naughty book, but it ends up being it's a guidebook for romance for high schoolers. So he's reading a book about love. So we get an idea that Rhea is thinking that he has a crush on someone. To which he gets a phone call, and we see it's their boss, his boss. It cuts to his boss pretty much saying that he's in the hospital with a broken leg, and he's closing the shop for a couple weeks. And then it cuts that. So it starts with him calling Futuro to tell him that. Then we see him talking, and then he's find out he's talking to Ninu. So he's pretty much calling them both to let them know that the shop's closed, and her plan to work with him has been ruined. So she doesn't have that option. She won't get the option to see him at work. So we see him, he's reading the book, and he's reading something about if you can't push, pull, like some of the techniques in the book, waiting on Nina to show up outside the hospital. And she shows up, and she's being really kind of mean and nasty towards him. She's insulting him. She's griping at him. She's saying he stinks. So she's giving him a hard time. She's acting like she did in the first season, pretty much. So they go to their boss's room. He had 2 bouquets of flowers. Futuro doesn't really know what to give people. So he gives one of the bouquets to his boss, who sees that Nino's, being mean to him. He's like, hey, what did you do? Did you get in a fight? He goes, no. He's like, buddy, it could be something you pretty much trying to figure out what it is. So he's kind of feel like she's doing some of the stuff from the book. So she's playing along with her, and finally goes, all right, this is just getting annoying. So he goes to put his hand on her shoulder, saying, okay, we just knock it off. And she pulls away and yells, don't touch me, freaking him out. To which the boss is like, yeah, man, she's mad at you. Either it's like you might not have known what you did, or you might not have done anything, but she's mad at you. As a woman, she's just mad at you, brother. So it's like you need to try and listen to her and see what it is. So then we see Ninu down at the lobby, and she freaks out because she is playing an act. She's doing this. She's doing this as an act towards him to try and get a reaction, and she realizes I went too far. That was way over the top. So she's freaking out because she overdid it. Of course, with the being at the hospital, it also sets up a quick little other thing that we got to set up. She runs into her father, who the movie covered this really quickly at the beginning because it had to. But the place they've been staying has been condemned, or it's getting demolished. So they were evicted, and so they're moving back into their penthouse where their father was. So pretty much this is what the scene. So we get a quick little scene about, okay, well, that place was for you guys anyways. Use it as you wish. I won't be in the way. So pretty much setting up them moving back home. And then we can get back to where Futuro comes and meets her in the lobby, wanting to know what's trying to talk to her again. And when he first shows up, she almost drops the act and starts to go back and almost calls him even. Because she's not even calling him, because she has been calling him Fu, and she wasn't even going to. So she's been calling him by his, Usagi, and she started to call him Fu at first. And then she coughed and corrected herself to that, and she's giving him a hard time. And he gives her the bouquet of flowers, which she's like, wait, are you trying to bribe me with flowers? She's trying to keep up the hard act. To which she goes, no, this is for your mom's grave. It's like the 1 year, or the yearly anniversary of her death is next month. And I was like, since I won't be tutoring you, I won't be around. So I thought I'd give it to you so you could, go ahead and take it there. So that really like touches Nino deeply. And then she grabs him, and he goes to leave, and she grabs him by the hand and says, "Don't leave. I want you to always stay by my side." So she wants to, it's like everyone else is going to leave me. My mom left me. My sisters are going to eventually leave me. It's like, will you always be there for me? To which, but through instead of like reading that, because this guy, he can be sometimes. I think he's overwritten sometimes. Like, come on, it's like guys are not this stupid. It's like, well, I thought you were trying to hate me. So, which kind of gets her to kind of like freak out there too, because he thought she was playing the book thing against him. So, but he says that, and he's like, I don't know, you scare me, and she likes, which perks her up. Is like, wait, I scare you, and we see he blushes, which she gets her, so she knows she's getting a rise out of him. So she's seeing that there's emotion there, there is something that he is, trying to conflict him with something to do. So she does get a kick out of it. And of course, the boss is spying on him, thinking the dude's an airhead. So that's our Nino story. So we get like a little. So each one of them is kind of going to give us a little touch out. So there's our little Nino story we get, showing a little more of their relationship. So then we go to Futuro and his sister are at the beach. So her sister talked him into going to the beach, and we see the sister's plotting something because she heard from Itsuki that the girls were going to go to the beach, so she's trying to set up a chance encounter of them all bumping into each other at the beach. But lo and behold, when it's Futuro's other classmates that he bumps into instead. And he finds out all his classmates are there, and like invite him to come hang out and stuff like that. Then we find out the girls didn't make it because they're moving back into their penthouse. To which they're questioning if Futuro went to the beach or not, and they don't think, that doesn't sound like him. But then they're like, well, if his sister wanted to go, he's the kind of guy that will do whatever his little sister wants him to do. And while unpacking, they find a drawing from Kiku here. From the time when this story goes. So everything else takes place, like I said, between the season 2 movie. Here we're getting a flashback to a story that was in an earlier chapter. I have been reading the manga. I'm just past the spring break trip, and we've already had this story occur in the manga. So this is very earlier on, super early on, based on that. This would have been early, like took place right at the beginning of season 2. So yeah, I think because I'm pretty sure this was after the camping trip. I'm pretty sure. So they're babysitting. This is Ichika's. The guy that we've seen meet up, her work person. I don't know if I technically think it's her boss or anything. But the guy from the mustache guy that Ichika works with has a daughter, and they're babysitting the daughter. So Futuro wants to go right into studying, but the kid wants them to play, and the kid wants to play house. And she names Futuro her papa. So Miku, this is interesting because we're going to. Miku jumps right on that spot and offers to be the mama, which she says no one's the mama because mama left and daddy alone because her situation is she lives with her father and her mom took off on him with another lover. So what the end of it is saying is that she names that Miku and Ichika are both work for her daddy and they're both in love with her father. So it leads to some shenanigans with Miku. Miku's really pushing kind of hard, and Ichi kind of starts trying to butt up to the kid. And then the kid asks him, what does each one of them like about their father? Which they're taking it as, what their real feelings are. So she kind of struggles with it, answering the question a little bit before coming up. She don't know. She goes, I don't know what it is about it. He does have this manly side to him that sometimes comes out. Miku starts rattling stuff off instantly. She goes, he's cool, he's smart, he's tall, he's handsome. So we're saying it once again. It's showing it. Like she's trying to figure out why she likes the guy. She's trying to explain having a hard time explaining why she likes him. Miko's right off the bat is like, yeah, because I like him because of these are the qualities I already see in him. So that's interesting. That was one of the parts of the show. That's why she's the best girl. So then the Kiku says something about like she don't need a mama. Her and daddy are happy alone, and that's when Fudoro starts saying, "Oh, you're a kid. You don't be like that. You're allowed to be selfish and want a mama." And he's doing the good big brother thing, which is when we see me is really touching Miku because this is the side of him that he doesn't even know he has, and this is what attracts me the most to him, is this kind-heartedness that he has. And she just straight up goes for it. She just straight goes up to him and says, "Let's date each other." And she's being serious. So she actually means it. And then Fudoro turns, "Date? No. Let's get married." And we get a Miku, wait, what? Hold on a minute. We find out that Fudoro was talking about for the game because he's like, "Well, let's get married. All right, Kiku, now you have a mama." And Fudoro was taking it that she meant for the game and didn't realize she was serious when she said it. Then the other girls show up and Yotsuba gets named. She says Yotsuba is their dog, and these two are her grandmas, which Ninu is super excited about playing the game, so she gets super into the character. Then we see a part where the Miku and Ichika are talking, and they're like, "Well, you dodged a bullet on that one." And she goes, "I may have dodged this bullet, but I'm telling you, I'm serious." And Ichika like, yeah, I see that now. So this was the drawing that they reminded of, so we can see Yotsuba the dog. You got Miku with Futuro there. And so that makes them, there's like, man, I really wish we could show this to Futuro so he could remember it. And then we see Futuro's on the beach hanging out and playing games with his classmates, and this may be the stupidest game I have ever seen in my life. So, do you know how drunk you have to be to agree to be in this position? So, we have a guy blindfolded with a stick, a guy buried in the sand next to a watermelon, and people are shouting left or right on which one he's supposed to whack with the stick. Well, the guy got hit with the stick. Like, you can get killed from that. It's like, is this a real game in Japan? I hope not. That sounds so absurdly stupid. So Futuro has a good old time is having fun with all his friends. So at the end of the night, you see, right, they're all kind of meeting up before about to separate, and they're talking about how it was nice to have Futuro finally to join him. He's not been like that at all since high school. Because it's like so nice that you finally opened up and came and hung out with us. And she said something like, "It's good to see that you had fun." And he goes, "Did I have fun?" She goes, "Well, I look like because that dude, come on, you had fun." She's like, "Well, it looked like you were having fun." Huh? Like, oh, huh. But they're dancing, so they're talking about it's like, well, it's pretty easy to see what's made the change in you. So pretty much saying that it's the quintuplets are getting him to open up and live a little. So they have fireworks, but they invite him to come along, but he wants to get his sister home who's dead tired. So we see him starting to think, he's inner thinking as he's walking home, and he goes, "Yeah, I did have fun with everybody today." He's like, "But I feel so like something's missing. And if the girls were here, it would have been more fun." And that's where we get the closing credits of the first episode, and then we cut to the outro scene is the girls getting a call from Rhea where she finds out, "Oh, you guys were moving. That's why you didn't show up." And then Futuro gets on the phone. And we can see this is what Itsuki's worried about. She's worried about, another big explosion from like what they had from the field trip. This is interesting. So Itsuki's opinion point is that she knows these two are in love with him, But when you go over here, she doesn't know Ichika's feelings, but she's saying Yotsuba loves him, which is interesting because that's not really been established according to the timeline. What we know from season 2 is we find out that Yotsuba was the girl he met 5 years ago. And Itsuki's telling her that that she should let him know it was her, and we know Itsuki told him she should let him know it was her. So Itsuki knows it was her. And we know that there was a scene where one of the girls dressed as Reina confronted him and told him to forget about the past and move on. Now, when we thought about that, we know it's not Ninu because Ninu didn't recognize him from the photo. We know that Ichika found the photo and the suit. Oh, well, that's right. Technically, we know Itsuki was the one that dressed as Reina because we saw that she had the outfit. So obviously, what we do know is that so we find out it was her, but Itsuki's the one that was trying to make him remember that moment, and Itsuki was the one that dressed as Reina. So obviously, we know that her and Itsuki had done some kind of talking. But nothing's been drawn, so it's kind of funny that Itsuki is assuming Yotsuba was already. So obviously, there's something we haven't been told. So she's worried about them all getting together because it might cause an issue. And so while on the phone call, he invites them all to go to the pool. And all the girls are shocked that he came up with that and are excited for it. And Itsuki kind of freaks out about it, like, you're inviting us now? So then we go to episode 2 starts with them arriving at the pool. And before they go in, there's a sign about if you have tattoos, you're not allowed in the pool. That is a big thing. Supposedly, Japan is very big about tattoos. A lot of places in Japan do not like tattoos, like baths and hot springs and pools and stuff like that. So sometimes you won't let you in if you have ink, or you have to put something over your tattoo. Supposedly it's some kind of offensive. So she reads the sign and she automatically, goes to Ninu. Do you have a tattoo? So it's kind of like accusing Ninu of doing it. So which Ninu's like, I do it. No, of course not. And of course that's Fu, a tattoo of the name Fu. She goes, I wouldn't do something like that. She goes, but that would be so romantic if I did. I don't know. Maybe that's so romantic to do it. Which Miku's back there like, I knew you do. I knew it. You would do that. But then she's like, I wouldn't do that because she does have. We do know she has a thing against needles. She was scared about piercing her ears, and she's afraid it would hurt too much. So Futuro finally arrives at the pool. And first one he runs is to his Itsuki. She's picking up food for her and her sisters. And this is where we get some really weird conflicting stuff when it comes to Itsuki. So she starts off. Well, first off, she's like, "This isn't all for me. This is food for everybody." And she pushes him about wanting to know if he likes her swimsuit. So she was worried because all the girls were we've seen it a couple of times mentioned about him seeing his classmates in their swimsuits, which freaked her out. But she straight up says, "Do you like it? I just had to buy it because my old one was too small." So he's like, "Yeah, it's nice," and she keeps pushing it, and she's trying to keep them away from her sisters. So when they start walking back, she sees her two sisters, and she tries to hide Futuro, which doesn't work because they get caught. Because like she says, she don't want them around because she's afraid it's going to cause issues, but it almost kind of feels like she's flirting still. So this is what's always been weird about Itsuki. So he runs into these two, and they're making good, friendly, small chat. And that's when we hear that maybe Yotsuba's really trying to let the past slide after all. So that's telling her that Yotsuba's pretty much told her, he's like, let it go. I'm letting it go. The past is So Yotsuba is not wanting to go down the past. And she's trying to let it go. And then she also says, I guess the trouble for the field trip with Ichika has also been solved. So she's starting to feel good that, it's like, all right, well, maybe I'm over exaggerating. Everything's going to be fine with the girls and everybody hanging out. And then here come the two runaway locomotions of love. It's like Miku and Ninu both pretty much pounce on Futuro. And, well, we get some fan service. So, obviously, this is the thing about putting the girls in bikinis so you can, get the fan service. Which is actually interesting because it really feels like the camera work really shows off, like, Ninu's butt. And, like, Miku's, like, putting her boobs way out there. So it's like, that's interesting to see the shy one's kind of like really opening up. So they're kind of like trying, they're both trying to get their moves, and Miku's trying to get him to almost take off her top. Says, here, put some sun lotion on me. And so they are both going straight full force, no doubt, a hard doubt it. So they come up with that they're going, after they get done eating lunch, they're going to go down this water slide. That is a straight drop. No, I wouldn't do that. I got too much gravity on me, man. So, of course, Ichika's kind of flipping out, is a little paranoid about it, and she has to get kind of talked up, where Ichika offers to hold her hand. We also see Itsuki is putting the sun lotion on Miku, who's like, I asked Futuro to do it, so I don't know if Futuro just avoided it, or if Itsuki's the one like that insisted that she do it instead, because he's trying to keep Futuro away. So everything's starting to feel good, and all of a sudden we find out that you go down, you ride a raft, and you go down in groups of 2. So she's like, oh no, here we go again. Everyone's going to fight. So we find out that they do paper rock. They always do like paper rock scissors to kind of match up. Yotsuba and Ninu got matched up together. As you see, Ninu is not happy about that. And then of course Miku and Ichika get matched up, and we do get some of the best. By the way, the animation in this episode is off the charts, fantastic. Even the intro is like amazing. So that's probably the best animation in the entire series. Is this episode? Because they definitely, the people that did it. So we got that Miku says she can't afford to be timid. Before they go down, she goes, I can't afford to be timid anymore. It's like, ever since I confessed to him, everything around me has changed. So she is finding that the confession was real. So not only are these just great shots of, great animation, but this is showing Miku, the shy one, who usually always has her hair down in her face to hide her face, is pretty much letting her hair go out in the wind, and she's putting herself out. It's pretty much like saying she's putting herself out there. She's showing herself off. She's not hiding anymore. So I thought that was a really cool way that they kind of did that to show that. So that means these two are partnered up. And Itsuki's still freaking out about going down it. And she says something like, I don't understand why the other two are about you. It's like they're out of their mind to want to ride with you. And he goes, yeah, they are. And she's like, wait, what the hell are you supposed to mean by that? And he goes, yeah, I'm saying they're out of their mind to be choosing someone like me. And that he knows they both like him, and he knows he needs to he's stuck in that decision, he doesn't know what to do about it. And he confesses to her that he's been reading a book, trying to understand he's been reading romance books about love to understand his feelings, to try and cope and grip what he needs to do. To which she also confesses that she's also been, looking up stuff about romance to try and understand her sisters as well. And she kind of makes her kind of happy to see that he is taking it seriously. So she kind of, giving a pep talk. Well, you can read all you want, and rather than overthinking it, sometimes you have to understand by trying. You got to put yourself out there and do something. And you get this other shot of her, this good fancy pose. Her hair starts blowing in the wind. Futuro's kind of like, you see him like awestruck by looking at her. That's why I always thought Itsuki was going to be the technical winner. I mean, I wanted Miku, don't worry, and I like Ninu, but I always felt like, logic speaking, was they were doing the slow burn with Itsuki. Itsuki was like the one little constant that kept growing and growing and growing. And we have another little moment. So we had this would have been a moment as well, enforcing that that he still had his connection, that he was forming a connection with Itsuki. So after bouncing back and forth on who should go in front and who should go in back, Itsuki decides to power up and get in the back. And then Futaro lays back, and this moment where he lays back, he puts his heads on her boobs as if it's like a pillow. I just thought that was hilarious. It's like, bruh, you're going to figure out with that stuff. So they go down the water slide. And then we cut to them leaving the water park. And supposedly they rode down... Itsuki, they said rerun. So Itsuki wanted to go down the slide over and over again. So she opened up and started liking it. And then they all start showing that their had tan lines that they may have had, and we find out Futaro's got a spot on his hand that didn't get suntanned. And so when they originally, because Ichika was originally going to go down the slide with Itsuki, and she said, "You can hold my hand." So when she was freaking out, at one point, Futaro was like, "You can hold my hand if you want." So when they first went down, it didn't show her hold. It looked like she was holding on death grip on the raft. But when he brought up that, it's when she realized it shows a little spot where she reached up and grabbed his hand, and she kind of freaks out and apologizes over it. All right, so what we've had now. So we had the opening thing, which was the Nino story. The Kiku thing was a Miku and Ichika story, even though Miku pretty much ruled the moment, because Miku, just like their whole battle was, Miku always dominated Ichika in that battle until Ichika started, getting a little dangerous. Then the water park, I would say, was mostly that was the Itsuki storyline. So now we're going to dive into the Yotsuba storyline, and this is going to have spoilers for. This is where we're going to start. We might start, kind of spoiling stuff for the movie here. Because if there is one thing from this special that's worth taking away, it's the next part of this story. This part is huge on understanding stuff from the movie. So pretty much Itsuki is they've kind of, the group's gone ahead of them a little bit, and her and Itsuki kind of fall back to where Itsuki's starting to question her about it. It's like why don't you want him? You should tell him who you are. You should are you sure you're okay with everything that's going on? So we start getting a flashback. Goes all the way back to where she found where we saw from the beginning, where she met him at his lunch table, and she had his test that she picked up off the floor, and her test. So we first see where she finds. So we guess you see a little before this where she saw his test on the ground, and she picked it up and she opened it up, and she recognized the name Futaro Yosugi immediately. As soon as she read the name, she goes, "It's him." And then she looked up and saw him, and she realizes, and she's like, so we saw that she recognized him from 5 years ago. The moment she saw his name, the moment she saw him, she instantly remembered him. And she was getting ready to, let her know it was her. She was starting to say, she was actually going to call him Futaro. So she's getting ready to call him that, and because this is where he was lost in thought and he wasn't looking at her. And she looked down and she saw that he had his little study cards there with him. She goes, "Wow, he's really studying hard." And she's like, "Wait, he just had a perfect score. He's kept his end of the deal. He's working like we agreed. He's studying hard. I'm a failure. I can't tell him who I am." And that's when she switches and calls him Yosugi-kan. Then we see where she's contemplating things like, he doesn't remember me at all, but at least I get to study. And then she's like, but she remembers everything. Everything. And then we see her on her swings, the swings that we saw her on before, and that was one of her favorite places to go. And she's excited because she's like, well, I didn't do my end of the sign, but he's going to be our tutor because fate has brought us back together again, and like he'll be my tutor, he'll get to train me, will get to teach me, and everything's going to be great because it's a second chance. And then it goes downhill because then she realizes Miku has fallen for him. So we see where she first questioned Miku at the library in episode 2 about it. Is like, is this the guy you have a crush on? And then she sees them together at the fireworks, and she's talking to Ichika. He goes, yeah, that looks like that. She's definitely looks like she's got it. She's fallen for him. And then at first she's like, and then she also mentioned, and you also see where she knows that Ichika also met him 5 years ago. So she knows that Ichika also hung out with him. And she goes, well, Ichika doesn't seem to remember him at all. And then she sees Ichika staring at him at the fireworks, and that's when she starts to realize that, okay, Ichika looks like she might have feelings for him too. So she's knowing that 2 of her sisters have feelings for the guy that she remembers and is the whole time. Then we'll see the moment from the beginning of season 2 where he tells Itsuki about the girl from Kyoto. And remember, this is also the time where she mentions they have a luck. They were in Kyoto 5 years ago, and they kind of realize the girl most likely is one of them. Well, Yotsuba overheard it, and that's when she realized that he does remember me, and everything about him is because of that everything that she realizes that he's done everything he did is because of when we met each other. So she knows she has that he's been waiting for. But then we go to the other problem we have with Yotsuba, which we've seen in those earlier flashbacks, is she wanted to be special, and she wanted to stick out from her sisters. After she met him, that was actually I think that's this may have been from the movie that we found this kind of stuff out. But she's feel like it's she doesn't want to be special. It's cheating if she's the one that's special to compare and has the leg up on her sisters. So that's when she decides that she has to erase her past, and everyone has to she has to do it for her sisters. She can't use her past to give her the upper hand. And that's when we saw the moment when Itsuki had moved out of the house, and had that little chat by the lake river, where once again it was like Itsuki was kind of like she was trying to almost kind of have a romantic moment with Futaro, and that's where she also found out that Futaro's thing was he wanted to feel needed. They heard a noise in the woods, and it was Yotsuba that she heard, who was bringing her a bag and then asked her for a favor because she didn't have the ability to do it herself. She's the one that she asked Itsuki to dress up as Reina and be herself and pretty much tell Futaro to pretty much push Futaro away from remembering her to move on. We even see the moment. So we knew she was there after he fell in the lake because she kind of was running by while doing the track. We see that she was actually watching the entire encounter, bawling her eyes out. This no joke. This whole section did bring me to tears a couple of times because this is a very sad story. So she's crying, having to realize that she's pushing away and having to move on to her past. So then we cut back to their current where she's Itsuki's pushing on her again. He goes, if she picks one of, he says like I should not be special. If he picks one of my sisters, I'm going to support him to the fullest. And her goal was, if he's happy, I want him to be happy. I want my sisters to have a fair shake. To where Itsuki was like, anyone should have the right to make themselves happy. And she pretty much straight up says, Itsuki, don't ever say that. And then we see where they're at the meeting for the festival. So we get a look where she, steals the glimpse at him, she's thinking, and then we go back to the swing. Once again, the animation on this part is amazing. And she's contemplating things, and where she finds out she admits that she loves Futaro, and she always has. And then we just see her swinging on the swing with no music, just hear the sound of the swing. It is absolutely the saddest thing ever. And that's where that episode ends. Like I said, it's powerful. It's a definitely big thing for the show. So then after the outro, we just get it kind of caught up with where everything picks up from there. They mentioned that they are studying for their entrance exams, which is what happens at the beginning of the movies. They're doing their entrance exams. And then the festival, the 3-day festival, Sunrise Festival is coming where everything comes to a conclusion. He makes his pick. And obviously, if you made it this far, it's pretty clear it was Yotsuba that he picked. So I guess if you haven't watched the movie, you should have been at this part of it. I did tell you to get away from this a while ago. But so that's where the special the special ends. Like I said, watching it before the movie gives a whole nother. I mean, like I said, it's going to kind of like really push you towards wanting Yotsuba to win, and possibly even expecting her to win. But so like it does change the way the movie's going to hit for you, but it's your choice if you want to watch it before or not. All right, so that special I think was really good. You had some good, some fun stories and the real powerful final story. Now for something completely different, the honeymoon arc. Wow, that was already 40 minutes. All right, so this one opens up. We see all the girls in their current jobs, and then Ichika says emergency meeting at the house tonight. So supposedly this story is from a special like little manga thing that was given out, I guess, at the movie or something like that. So an extra little story, and it's ridiculously dumb. So pretty much they get into it saying that their new swimsuits that they got ordered 5 years ago have come in, and one of them is bigger than the other ones, and confessing that one of the girls' sizes has gotten bigger. So they're trying to, confronting each other on which one it is. So first first one accused is Itsuki because we know Itsuki's an eater. And we flip back to where 5 years ago, where she had made Futuro go with her to try on a bathing suit because she just needed Futuro there, just for him to check it out and see what he thought of it. She looked like in it, and so because she had gotten bigger. Then she accuses Miku of doing it because Miku's eating style's the opposite. She doesn't eat as much. So we find where Miku also made Futuro 5 years ago. This is by the way after the movie would have took place. So we're going to find out he has picked Yotsuba by this point. So she makes Futuro go, and so she can show off put on the bathing suit and get his opinion on it. And she goes, well, it's like, I don't want to show this to anyone, but I'll show it to you. So she's still doing some light flirting with the guy. But when she comes back to try and say it's not her, she points the finger at Ninu. And she even goes up and starts actually grabbing Ninu's breast, saying that they're bigger. Which then we go back, and Ninu also made Futuro take her to the shop. And she straight up holds the note back. She goes, I want you to, it's like my goal, I want to look better in this than Yotsuba does. I want to look better than Yotsuba. And so she's straight, I want you to see me. I want to be looking better than the girl you chose. So it shows that she's still kind of trying to want to steal him away. So then she comes back and she points out that there's online articles saying that Ichika's proportions are changing, and she's claiming it was Ichika. And then we see Ichika takes Futuro to the store, and she's promising she's not out. And this time she's like straight up like, I'm not trying to do anything underhanded. I just want to look, make sure I see how I look, and even goes with because I'm the big sis. I mean, just big sis kind of thing. And she's kind of, being lighthearted and friendly. Who then claims it's Yotsuba finally hit a growth spurt. There's some interesting, and then when I was preparing for this video, there was something here that I kind of thought was interesting. So she claimed that Yotsuba had gotten, bigger. To which Yotsuba in her head was thinking, she looks at Futaro, who's pretty much is zoned out on this conversation because he doesn't care. And she goes, already, isn't that a little too soon? We're still. So I was like, wait a minute. Too soon for what? So I was wondering if they're trying to tease that she thought she might be pregnant. Because that's usually girl gets pregnant, her breast enlarged. But I was like, I couldn't figure out what else she could be trying to mean here. Already, isn't it a little too soon? So I must want to think that. So is this setting up like a special about Yotsuba having a kid? So I don't know. That's the only thing I could take from that. But I just thought that was interesting when I was preparing this. That stuck out to me. And I was like, wait a minute, that's weird that she's whatever she's trying to say. But then we go back to where Yotsuba is. Fujo's kind of complaining a little bit. She goes, "You're about to shush. You're about to say something awful." It's like, we're dating. It's okay for you to be. We're now dating, so you have to go places with me. So she's showing off her bathing suit as well. And Fudo kind of makes a comment like, how many times have I been here already? He's like, oh, you remember all our dates here. Oh, this was our first date was. And so he's kind of griping about all the girls dragging him there. But she takes it as him remembering that they've gone there a bunch of times. And then, of course, their father walks in and dumps all their swimsuits on the table, and all the girls apologize because all their sizes had gotten bigger, to which they realize that they all increased to the same new size. And that there's a sixth bathing suit that is the biggest one, to which the dad's like, oh, yeah, I bought one for your mother. Oops, my bad. The story's so bad. So pretty much it was just to have that little fan service glimpse of showing each girl in a bikini. It was all, even though they're about to go to Hawaii, which you think you'd get to see them in bikinis again. So it's all pretty much just for that. Just so here's the absurdity. So they tried on these bikinis 5 years ago and ordered them 5 years ago. Man, I order shit from Temu, and it might take a while to get here, but it don't take 5 years to get here. So this story just it's ridiculous. And why? So 5 years ago, he ordered a bathing suit for his dead wife, who had been dead for several years before that. So we know she died at some point after he ran into Yotsuba in Kyoto. Everything assumed that she was still alive at that point because Yotsuba wasn't wearing a ribbon. But we also know that he was their father at the time too, so maybe she was sick at that point. But yeah, so that whole storyline was garbage and just dumb. But then we switched to where Futaro is starting to talk about the vacation, and he's planned out their entire trip. He's got a whole itinerary he's made for each of them about everything they're going to do, and he's got everything planned to the T. That's where we also find out that the dad's like, oh, that's right, you guys are going to Hawaii. I'm going to Hawaii too because I have a business conference. So dad's taking along on the trip because why not? So we have the whole little moment with them getting on the plane and stuff like that, and talking about how he shouldn't, Futaro better not get sick on them. And then we see them all arrive in Hawaii. Our adult quintuplets there. And we have a couple little musical little interludes here, like some montage with music. I like this one because the interesting part is, so they went cage diving with a shark cage diving, which Yotsuba's totally into it. Miku freaks out and goes to the top of water and grabs on the Ichika. And would Miku actually do that? I mean, Miku's the the war, into the samurai warriors and stuff like that. It's like that would make more sense if it was Itsuki who freaks out here. But I thought that was kind of interesting. So they do a bunch of activities together, and the girls make an excuse to separate from Futaro and just leave him and Yotsuba together to go to their next activity. Kind of like they're trying to push him to do something with his wife. So they go and they're doing some quilting. And we find that he's making a whole bunch of them, and then Yotsuba makes one, but he points out that I guess a pineapple, and she forgot to put the middle leaf, to which she realizes, actually, it looks like Futaro. So she's happy with her artistic expression. Then we got the girls are at the market. We see Itsuki's getting emails from her boss and starting to be a little paranoid. Ninu gets confronted by an American girl. And this is where major plot flaws are going to start coming into play here. First off, this is not a knock on the show because I've seen this in Godzilla movies and other Japanese movies. I know Japanese actors don't make as much as Hollywood actors, and it's just it's usually just a normal profession over there. But do they really not have any good English speakers over there? Because you can tell her voice actress is a Japanese woman trying to speak English. It is not very crisp English at all. It's like, hey, we can negotiate. You guys need an American-speaking person over there for your, do some voiceover stuff. I'm available. Japan, Toho, any of you animation studios. I'll move to Japan. As long as it's like $50K or higher, I'm good. But yeah, I digress. So she starts coming up to Nino and asking her for help because she likes her Japanese classmate. Nino can't really understand her. So she kind of ends up agreeing, and nobody's around to help her. On the plane, we saw that they were going to rely on Itsuki, Ichika, and pretty much Futaro to help them with any language barriers. So she kind of agrees to help this girl meet her the next day without realizing it because she can't speak, so she's not understanding her. Then all the girls end up showing up, and now everybody shows up, and we see Miku bought a bunch of foods, and when asked about it, she kind of hesitates, and then they ask Ichika while she's carrying everything for her. So we're kind of getting some tidbits that each girl's kind of got something going on at the moment. We won't do our deep dive yet. So they get back to the hotel room. The other girls go to their room, and Yotsuba and Futaro get ready to go to her room. She opens the door, turns around, Futaro's gone. And then we find out he's with their father, who happens to be in the room next door. He says, wow, you booked a room next to mine. Bro, you're on the honeymoon with the dude's daughter, and you're staying in the room next to him. It's like, ouch. No weird pressure there. So he's confronting Futaro, bringing up something. He starts, he wants to treat Futaro to some wine. Introduce him to the delicacies of wine drinking. And we see Yotsuba kind of freaking out in the room because she don't know what happened to her husband, and she decides to go to her sisters to help out. And then we go back. And Futaro's, trying out some wine, and then when the dad points out, it's like, did you not notice? All the girls are there's something wrong with all the girls are dealing with something. And they all have something going on. And he also brings up that Nino has agreed to meet because he had his little helper follow him around too. Forgot his name. Who now, by the way, who looks younger now than he did in the first 2 seasons of the show. And that Nino agreed to meet up with some American girl to help her out. So we see that Yotsuba has met with her sisters, and she shows them all that he made all of them a quilt, and we see that they're saying, well, you need to tell him you want memories of just the two of you. So we find out that's why the girls kind of split off to try and let them go do something together for the two of them. So Futaro says, all right, I see what you're asking. You need me to... So he downs his glass of wine, He goes, all right, sir, I accept. And he's like, no, that's not how you do it. So he pours him another glass of wine. You drink it slowly. So he keeps feeding him alcohol, feeding him all this wine, which of course leads to Futuro passed out drunk in the hallway. So this family now has drugged Futuro 3 times. So we see all the girls find him, take him, put him in his bed, and they all kind of take care of him. And they all grab his finger like they did at the camp. Then we see him waking up with a hangover the next day, and he finds that the girls left all this stuff to take care of him. Get like some medicine and water and stuff like that for him to drink when he woke up. So they saw that, and then we see where he goes to thank them. Wakes them up because they all decided to bunk together, and wakes them up and thanks them. So we get another little music interlude of him meeting up with other girls and saying, all right, well, I hear y'all are dealing with some problems. And so that means one more time, I'm going to be your temporary tutor. And we will face your problems together. It's like, you haven't put it in my book. I even have my book. If there's a problem, we all work on it together. So he decides we're going to do the good old quintuplet switcheroo to take care of the problem with Lily. So since it's Nino's problem, Nino wants to be the first one to try and do what she can. Because I got us into this. I want to try my best to help her first. So what it is she has an earpiece in, and Futuro's got an earpiece in, and he's kind of translating stuff for her and then telling her what to say. The first option they go with is so as we see, she's getting clues from Futuro. All right, so let's talk about the elephant in the room real quick here. We'll get to it in a minute. We're going to find out something else about Nino. So he's pretty much helping her, telling her what to say to the girl, things that help, giving her clues and translating. So they decide to go shopping. So they go and she tries on a bunch of clothes. Every time she tries on something, he's telling Nino, like, say something good. So Nino's just praising everything she puts on. That's awesome. Oh, that looks great. That's perfect. And then they find an outfit that she really likes, and Nino has her try it on, and she gets that outfit. And that's when he's like, all right, okay, take a break. We'll have Itsuki, we're going to have someone swap out with you. So then they do the switcheroo, and now Ichika gets the turn. And Ichika is pretty much going and blinging it up, showing like how to get all fancy and stuff like that. And she's kind of being a little too showing off. And she gets recognized by people as Ichika, which is interesting because they recognize Ichika looking like Nino, but they don't recognize anybody else dressed like Nino, even though anybody else dressed like Nino is going to look the same as Ichika does. Whatever. But so she has to kind of run off because she gets found out, which then forces Miku into the thing, and Miku, she wants to learn Japanese, so Miku kind of starts showing her some customs and teaching her some words, showing her how to drink the tea, and gives her a few catchphrases. So teach her, and then so after she does that, we flip to Itsuki, who she would teach some more Japanese customs, and it's pretty much just about munching food. So while that's going on, we finally start breaking down on finding out, he's confronting all the girls to find out what's their other issue is. So Nina's problem is some foreign people came into their shop. I'm assuming American. She couldn't communicate with them and take their order, so they got frustrated and left. Now we'll talk about the elephant in the room. So Nina's issue with the little girl and with that was speaking to foreigners. And this also, before this whole thing went on, he brought up the whole point. He's like, well, this is why I pushed you guys about English, and you need to study and do all this stuff. Okay, so if you remember back to the first 2 seasons, whenever we saw the girls' grade scores, each girl excelled in one specific topic. Miku was social studies because she loves history. Yotsuba was Japanese. Itsuki was science. Ichika was math. Ninu was English. Ninu always, the first thing she was, the first test, the only thing she was passing was English. And then as they went further, she added more stuff to it, but English was always her top subject. So apparently, she forgot everything. Which is like you guys didn't do your history. This makes no sense because she was always the one that excelled in English. And when I got to the point where you had the moment with the notes about each one of us, you guys each in one good topic, and you'll teach it that you'll help me teach that topic to your sisters, which would mean that Ninu's job was to help her sisters with English. So yeah, this whole plot line makes absolutely zero sense and has no canon with the rest of the story because English should not be her top problem. That was her that was her 1/5. Miko's issue is she's promised to make a new pancake for a customer, and she's having a hard time coming up with a new item. Ichika has a physically demanding role, and she's not strong enough to do it. And Yotsuba is worried about trying to do a polite, speak correctly, and thank Futaro's grandparents for their wedding gift. This is where we find out Itsuki is having a call from her work, and that we find out Itsuki's issue is she's having some problems with her teaching job. And she goes, well, Lily-san wants advice on how to confess. So that's when it becomes Yotsuba's turn. So they go to a romantic spot on the beach, and Lily's kind of worried that what if he rejects me and everything goes badly, and then that's when Yotsuba gives his kind of heartfelt speech on like not holding back, and you gotta saying you got pretty much telling her to go out there and get it, but the girl doesn't it's all in Japanese, so the girl doesn't pick it up, and that's where then Itsuki comes out of the hiding. And goes, let me help you with that. It's like she needs to hear your words because like she the best way which she kind of like, hey, wait, that's two Ninos. Which leads to all of them deciding to come out of the hiding, and she's like freaking out, like, "Well, there's 5 Ninos." So which they give them the backstory, like, "Oh, they're quintuplets," and then we get a little flash forward. So Futuro's kind of thinking about stuff, and then they have their moment, and then the girls call them over, and that's the end of the honeymoon. So the honeymoon ends with them helping this. So they should why they were trying to do the quintuplet game makes no sense for a couple of reasons. First off, a lot of this, the big issues from the show and stuff was teaching them how being each other, trying to dress as each other, and they should be unique and be themselves. Them dressing as each other caused problems. Each goes dressing as Miku caused a lot of problems with her family. And it was all about, pretty much learning for them all to believe in themselves and believe in their strengths and like that. The other reason this makes no sense is there's literally no reason to trick her. If she asked Nina for help, then Nina could have brought all of them in to meet her and help work together on it. There was no reason to deceive her. So the storyline is trash. It was pointless. So they're back home, and we see they took a picture with her, and it's next to their wedding picture and their spring break picture at Yotsuba's house. And the whole point of this is we've always known. At the end of the movie, we saw what the girls were doing. Each was going to acting. Itsuki was becoming a teacher, and the other 2 girls were working a cafe together. They're running their own cafe. Yotsuba at that point had just been a housewife. She just was exercising on that. So now we see she's reading a book about becoming a physical therapist. So Yotsuba's finally picked a career path. She's becoming a physical therapist. That's really important. I thought about that. So they all meet up and they're planning to do the switcheroo plan again to help each other out. Yotsuba is going to take Ichika's place because Yotsuba can do the physical demanding roles. Ichika is going to take Itsuki's place because she can charm her bosses. Itsuki is supposed to be taking Ninu's place since she can talk to the foreign people. Ninu is taking Miku's place because for the help with the cooking one, so it gives Miku time to come up with a new recipe. Then Miku is taking Yotsuba's place because she is, how to talk politely and what to talk to the grandparents. So they're planning to do the whole switcheroo quintuplet thing with their jobs. So that'd be the plan. And they're getting ready. They're starting they're getting ready to start making themselves look like each other. And they get a message from Lily saying that she asked him out. Looks like he must be nervous and having a nosebleed. The funny part, we find out when she was talking to Miku and she was describing the boy, he was a smart kid, very shy, didn't have a lot of friends, and Miku kind of thought he reminded her of Futuro. So I forgot about that part. She got a good laugh out of that. She's like, that sounds like someone I know. But everything went well, and it thanked him, and that made the girls like, you know what? No, we have to deal with our problems ourselves. So Yotsuba meets up with the grandparents. Itsuki stands up to her boss and lets them know that she can handle it. Yotsuba does her physically demanding scenes against some zombies. Ninu comes up with a special little menu that has to help American people, help her communicate with Americans or other foreigners. Ninu and Miko comes up with her new pancake dish. So the girls ended up realizing, they have to stand up for what they believe and solve their own problems, and they don't. And that even if if it goes right or fails, things might get worse, but they always have their sisters with them in their heart. The same message they learned pretty much at the end of the anime, which was about them just believing in each other and being themselves, and their sisters will always be with them. So they were going to do. So we had a switcheroo plan that was not needed. That they decided that they broke because they realized once again that was not needed. Then they were going to do another switcheroo plan, which they had decided was not needed as well. So this was kind of so pointless because they all pretty much just learned the same lessons that they already learned from the anime itself. So yeah, so pretty much this entire special has been not very good. We have our outro. And then after the outro, we get our cutscene. And this is probably the only thing we're taking from this special. So it's Futuro and Yotsuba. And Futuro pulls out these 2 jars that he made on their honeymoon. And realized that Yotsuba had an issue with the fact that you said we should have something just for the 2 of us. So it's showing that he listened and he knew that they didn't have anything that was just for him and her. So he made these 2 little jar keepsakes, and he's saying, pick which one you like the best. Like I think they're both perfect. I think that he made. I think they're both perfect, and you just pick which one you want. To which Yotsuba goes, yeah, okay, I'll take both of them. And this is pretty much showing that Yotsuba. So why this part is significant? The only thing significant of this whole episode is it shows that Yotsuba has finally developed selfishness. She's being a little selfish in a good way. So this is her way of saying, I'm instead of always wanting to give to everybody else, give everybody else. She's like, no, for once I'm taking something for me. So that was just the one big character growth on Yotsuba. That little scene is probably the only really good thing about it. So yeah, the first one, the skip manga episodes, since those were actually skip chapters, obviously. So those were really, I thought that one was really good and worth watching. The honeymoon one is kind of a letdown and felt like it probably was just a straight up cash grab just to capitalize on the popularity of the show. And didn't have much effort in it because all they did is just have the characters revert themselves back to who they were in the show. They lost their character growth and started doing the same, like the quintuplet switcheroo plan. And also the really horrible bathing suit ish part at the beginning, which was just straight fan service. Throughout this episode, the whole time they're in Hawaii, which is the irony is they're all just fully dressed. So I don't think so the whole swim you don't ever actually so the bikini part is just to give you the fan service, the quick glimpse of them all in their swimsuits. I don't even think it was the Lost episodes had more fan service than this episode did. It showed them all in these swimsuits through like a whole section of the special. Then you get like a little glimpse of them all trying on a bathing suit, and boom, now it sticks to the story. So yeah, so that was definitely the honeymoon special was very disappointing. So that is now the end of our quintessential quintuplets review. This is still going to be a long video, but at least we wrapped it up. It's done. I can finally start making a video on another show. So I do have a few more in the bank to talk about that I've already watched. There's a couple rom-com ones. What? A couple that might fall under fantasy action. So I'll have to see which one I think I should do next. So I might watched online, and there's a couple I've watched on Netflix. I'm still finishing one that I'm really, really enjoying right now. But yes, our Quintessential Quintuplets has come to an end. I will still say, to me, this show was superb and fantastic. Even though it had some frustrating spots and some parts that I think I could have done better. A main character that could be massively annoying with how naive and ridiculous he can be. But the writing on the show is superb. The character development is superb. This show teared me up plenty of times. I'm not afraid to admit that this show could had some tear jerking scenes and some scenes that just made you like gasp, like when some of the Ichika backstabbing Miku moments. I kind of think that's why poor Ichika doing what she did to Miku. It made her such a hard character to come back around on. Even when they tried to redeem her, it's just she never really regained it. And I think it's because of the fact that they had her backstab Miku. I think Ichika probably should. One of the things, like I said, if I had some control, I think I would probably have Ichika and Ninu kind of fight with each other a little more, because I think that one would have lessened the attack on the despise of Ichika down, so it wouldn't have destroyed her character as much. Because Nino is also a strong, powerful, hardwell character. Having her do it to Miku, is the shy introvert who's already battling herself, I think is what destroyed her. So that's like one thing I think it could do. Futuro being a complete brainless idiot. I mean, I guess that's what all these kind of things have, that kind of a character. Our main character's always got to be the brainless idiot who can't. But sometimes he was a little over the top. And like I said, then just watching the official stuff, the ending pick felt unearned. Like I said, we're at this point, so we can talk about it. The picking of Yotsuba felt out of the blue. Like I said, to the first two seasons of the show, we had no real build-up for Yotsuba. We had like some little here and there kind of moments of Yotsuba. We never got anything that felt really significant. Just so we got like they've had the date together where we knew she was happy at the end of the date, so we had some like little teases that there's something there. And then we got the big reveal at season 2 that she was the girl from Kyoto and she wasn't trying to make him remember it. Which so that we got that big reveal that was like, okay, well, there's something more there. Then we did the next thing we had was when she had her when we got her story arc in the movie, where we finally got a little reveal about her wanting, what her reactions with him when they were a child, and then how she tried to push herself, and it went badly for her, and all the problems that it caused, and she ended up putting her sister's well-being ahead because her sisters gave up so much for her. So they started. So only got that one little build-up to kind of push for her. But then you kind of like, well, do I really want to root for her at this point? Because I was not invested in her. That story arc that was in the first special would have made Yotsuba a way more powerful character, a more likable character, a more character that the people would have rooted for. I mean, I guess if the movie was going for the I want to shock the world, I guess it got that part of it, and that's why I've seen tons of stuff where people are still upset about the ending of that movie. I mean, the one that he picked and how it ended. But yeah, so I do think that special I think was vital. I think that was something that was very much needed. Because I said until the end of season 2, I honestly expected Itsuki to win. I was 100% thinking it. I wanted Miku to win. I loved Miku the most. I still, Miku is the best girl to me. Nino, I would have been happy with Nino too. I think Nino was a fantastic character. But logically, I was watching the slow growth of Itsuki over the season 1 arc that ends with her, finally opening up to Fudoro and wanting to learn more about him and get to know him more. To season 2 where she comes to the point where she respects Fudoro and she sees him as a friend. And then we get the reveal that, and then, like I said, we know she dressed up as Rena. We find that out, and so I think about why is Itsuki trying? There was always a kind of tease like, could have Itsuki been a Rena? Because it was always a possibility that Itsuki may have been the girl from the past. Then we get the reveal that Yotsuba was the girl from the past, and find out that Itsuki's trying to make him remember Yotsuba, and pretty much she is friend zoning herself. And then we had her movie arc was garbage. They destroyed her character. She's the only one that she's the only one that didn't kiss him in her story arc. Now during the Quintuplets wedding game, there was talk of them accidentally kissing at some point. And I still don't remember what that was. Unless they're saying that Itsuki is the one that kissed him on the spring break trip. Because it was like, we don't know which girl it was. Then it was kind of assumed to be Yotsuba. And even at the wedding, after the wedding, there was like a little conversation where he even says that he knew that when he kissed Yotsuba on the spring break trip that it was there. And Yotsuba looked like she was about to say something, but then it gets interrupted. So I'm not remembering what its accidental kiss with Itsuki was. So I would have to go back and check on that. So I can't think. Did they ever like bump into each other or anything in season 1? So yeah, I know they argued about it during the wedding, and he blamed it on her that she instigated it. So I'm not sure. So that is interesting there, but she did not get to kiss him on her movie arc. She was the only one that didn't. So she was the only one that straight up friend zoned. So that was the interesting one because like I said, they felt like. So when you're watching everything, it felt like she was one of the strong candidates that could have got picked. Yotsuba had the Ichika pretty much destroyed herself and looked like you didn't really buy in the Ichika. And then Yotsuba just had that weird, okay, well, maybe she was the girl from the past. Is she really a player or not? they put that story arc from the last episode in there, and it would have clearly made Yotsuba, Miku, and Ninu like the top contenders. But I digress. That's something that, that they made their choices and they went with it. Still highly recommend the show. I don't know if I'll rank doing what kind of ranking I'll do when I do this, because I still have 2025 animes that I haven't covered yet. So even though we're at halfway through January. So of what I watched last year, this is definitely one of the top tier ones I watched. This and I would say Dan to Dan were probably the best two shows that I watched. I did really enjoy Ranma, so I think that would be about a tier below. One we haven't covered yet that I don't, I just, I don't, it's not story wise, it wasn't really good, but it was comedy wise, it was fantastic. And then it did have a really good story arc that they kind of dodged with. And then I even finished reading the manga so I could see how it ended. It was Girlfriend, which we'll be covering that one at some point. But I don't think I wouldn't put that at, so I think that would be on the same level for me as Rama was. So yeah, this was definitely one of the top shows I've watched so far for anime. One of the ones I'm currently watching, I probably might rank it up there with it. But the show was very, very good, and it's still holding on to its popularity. They have video games they came out with. I might try those if they go on sale. They're pretty expensive. They've done some crossovers in a bunch of other games. They supposedly have shops that still pop up from time to time, especially around Valentine's Day. So it's always possible the Quints might show up at some point in the future. Maybe they'll get, if they'll ever get another special or anything. So they seem to be one of the more popular ones. I see, I've joined a couple like Facebook anime groups, and a lot of the Quints will show up on when they're trying to just I guess they're doing waifu rankings. So you'll get Ninu pops up a lot, Miku shows up a lot. I've even saw one with Itsuki on it. So they are still very popular. Great show, definitely worth watching. The first special, if you can get a hold of it, is definitely worth watching. Like I said, watching it before you watch the movie does make it helps make the movie make more sense. The honeymoon arc, you could that one is optional. You can skip over that one if you want, because it doesn't really add much, just unless you want more just content with the characters. But yes, there it is, the end of the Quintessential Quintuplets review. 5 videos in total. I guess we'll say one for each one. Until next time, Cachorro out.